We have just see how to use the J button in our swing program, because most of the time you are going to use the J button. Even text field is very important. So, according to our syllabus, I also discussed about this text field previously in AWT. So, right now the what does mean the JTextField actually. The object of a JTextField class is a text component, right? Text component that allow the editing of a single line of text and inherit the text component class. So, what does mean? Suppose this is we know about the button, we are familiar with, most of the time we have seen. So, we have also seen the text button, text field. Okay. So, here we can also put some text previously assigned, even we can give some input as a in my text field, so that we can access whatever the input has been given by the user, that input has to be taken from this text box. So, it may be happen, most of the time we are going to use. So, this JTextField class is a text component that allow the editing of a single line of text, okay, and inherit the JText component class. So, in hierarchy we have seen that JTextField area also. So, it inherits the properties of JText component class. So, these are the commonly constructors. So, now look at the commonly constructors which are available associated with the text field, and there are 4 constructor commonly constructor we use of JTextField classes. First one is, so the class name must be same with the constructor name. Okay. So, constructor name must be same, sorry, constructor name must be same with the class name. We already know the class name is JTextField, right. So, JTextField, okay. JTextField. So, first constructor, most of the time we are going to use the first constructor, because it created text field, just only created text field. So, that means no text is assigned or initialized. So, it just created text field. So, if I pass, this is my text field. So, if I pass a text field as an argument with no argument, so that only a blank text field will be created. And the second one, frequently we can use it also most of the time, because the second one is not frequently used, JTextField string text. We will see with an example also. So, if I already specified some string, for example, I have just when the window will show, so it will see some text in my text field. So, automatically it will show, then we use the second one, create a new text field, initialize with the specified text. So, that means that text is already initialized. So, by first one we can give the input, and second one already the text is initialized, that is very important. And third is with text 2 argument, and one of them is text and second is number of column. So, how many number of column we can use? So, we specified and column, okay. So, that means number of character we can think as a column. So, number of character with specified column, that is very important, or not frequently use this one. And JTextField integer column, so it basically tell the number of column also. So, this 4 commonly used constructor, first 2 we use frequently, and the rest of the 2 we are not going to use the frequently. So, in our example we will show both of them, the first one and second one, so that you can get the clear idea how to use the JTextField. And these are the commonly method used associated with this JTextField. We have already discussed about the action listener, because what will happen if I click on button or click on text box, what will happen. So, the action listener function is very important. We will pass an action listener object through this, and we have also additional this one, the last one, remove action listener. If I want to remove some if it is used to remove the specified action listener, so that it can no longer receive action event from this text field. So, we will use this remove action listener. From this text you can understood that remove means we are just want that listener is no longer exist or associated with the action event of this text field. And third one is second one is action get action. So it is return the currently set action for this action event object. So not frequently used. And third one is frequently used, set font. So because most of the time it is used to set the current font of a text. So suppose I want to text in italic format, or what is the font, there are so many font are available, according to you can use the font. So this method is used, there are so many font are available, you will see from this Java documentation also what are the font is available. So you will see, so this method is used and that one is used. So both two methods are frequently used in case of text field. So let us see an example of JTextField, so that you can get the idea. In this example I will demonstrate how to use the JTextField. Okay. So I have already know that I have just discussed in the previous example of JButton. So I have to use the import swing.start, and here the class name is TextField example. Okay, and within we have already know that we have to create a frame, right? And here I have just, in this example I have just used, let me use the two text field. So I have just used the two text field. So text field T1 and text field T2. So these are the two text field variable, and here we have created the two object of this text field. First is T1 dot text, this one, look at this here, this one for first text field. Okay, and the second text field, whenever just pass this text field, I have just passed welcome to GMIT. So that text will be discussed, that text will be displayed previously, because this text is initialized already previously, or specified text will be displayed. So that text will be displayed. So I have just discussed in our theoretical class. So here set bound you are already familiar. The second text is, I have just used the same text field but with different text, I have just passed it. Then set bound, then we have to call the f dot add. So I have to pass the first add the first text box. So T1 is my object, so that object has been passed as an argument to first frame 1, and the second one also similarly. We know the set size and set layout is null. I am not going to use a special one, and set visible is true. So you are already familiar with the first one. So let me execute this code so that you can get the idea what does it mean. So let us change. Okay, let me execute. So yes. Now compare with this first one with coding. Here the JFrame is created. What is the name? Text field example. So that text will be displayed in our there. And welcome to GMIT. In my first text field there are two text fields. One of the text is this one T1, this one is T1. So this is my T1 and this is my T2. Okay, so this is my T1, this is my T2. In T1, when we call the constructor JTextField, I have just passed a string argument, welcome to GMIT. Okay, so you can change it. For example, I will show that. And the second text field is E6046. So that text will be displayed, because we know that when we call the JTextField with passing string as an argument, it will create a new text field initialized with the text. Okay, and we are already familiar with the set bound, and then with that text field is add to my frame, and that T2 will add to my frame. So you can get the idea. So let me change this one. Okay, let me change, for example, I want to write object oriented programming, okay, push things here. So let me execute that. What will happen? Okay, you can understand from here. Okay, now I have also discussed about the another text field which does not take no argument text field. So let me add here so that you can get the idea. So I want to add another text field but with no argument. So I'll just take the text field variable t3 and I have to create another one. Okay, let me create this one as a last one. First I have to create, I have not want to pass any argument, string argument, so that text field will be blank text field. So t3, let me change this one. So first we have to create the text field object. Okay, then that object has to be add to my where we want to add as a component. Let me execute this one 150. So let me add this component vertical distance. So at this component, for example 200. Okay, we will see that this is the first text field and this is the second text field and this is my third text field. So you can see the address. For left hand side the address is, the x-axis is 50 50 50. So from left hand side all the text box will be equal alignment, and in case of this one only the vertical distance will be placed between the text field. Okay, and let me add this component, and again we have to add this component to my, you can understand. Let me comment first so that we can get the idea. First I don't want to add, I have create but I don't want to add. So let me comment this one, then after that I will remove the comment. Okay, let me execute. There is no change. You can see that there are two text fields because this text field is I have not added to my frame. So that's why the previous executed I have created the text field JTextField with no text, but I have not added to my frame, so that's why it's not showing. So let me remove this comment, then execute one more time. Clear? So this is the change. You can get the idea. Okay, this is the change. This is my first T1. This is my T1. This is my T1. T1. This is T2, and this is T3. Okay. So I hope you are clear about this, how to use the JField, and earlier I have just discussed about the JText button. Let's start with the combination of two, so that because every time we are not going to use only the text field, only the J button we are not going to use. That's why I am just taking another example. This is very important, and this is the second one where I am going to use the action listener. Okay. So second example. In this example I have just created only we have used the import java.aw.event. Even I have just used import java x.swings because this action array belongs to event class. So that's why I have to import this one, and the name of the class is button example. So I have just first create a frame. Okay, I have just created a frame, so that text will be displayed in our window left hand corner, and I have just created text field. Okay, so text field is then I have just called with this text field object. I have just set bound where it will be placed in my window. Then I have also created a button. Okay, at a time I have just created text field. I have just also create a button, so that is text field click me. Okay, click here, or you can write click me, or you can write submit, you can write anything, whatever the text you are going to write, that text will be displayed in your button. So then it has just found, look at this, the index here 50 50 150 20, here 50 100. You can give any index where you want to place in your window. Then the main important thing here, I have just used this part. Okay, this part is very important because this part is new in this example. Add action listener. So we already discussed this method, and whenever we call this add action listener, I have to pass action listener as an argument. Okay, so I have just passed the constructor, and within this constructor we have just call it public void action perform. What is the action I am going to perform? If I click on that button, what will happen? Because this action listener, I have added b dot action listener. B is my button, right? So B is my button. So whenever I will click the button, that portion of that part will be executed. Here I have just write set text. We have already familiar with set text, get text. So what will happen? If I click on the button, what will happen? Set text, that means the field in my text field, that text will be displayed. So I will set the text to my text field. Okay, because whenever I have just called this method, I have not passed any text. I have just not passed any text. So here that text will be passed. Okay, and that will be displayed. So and rest of the thing is same. I have just add the button, I have just add the text field, and set visible 400. You know the size of the window, set layout null, and set visible is true. So all this method is familiar. So in this example, so you can demonstrate the J button, and you also say that JTextField. Okay, example with an action listener. So at a time we are considering J button, JTextField, and how to add a action listener with an object. So let me execute this one so that you can get the idea. Yes, so that is my submit button I have written here. Okay, so left hand side all the 50. So 50 from here, this is 50, from here this is also 50. But here the size of the text, you can know that how much area it will take. So here the size of the button is 95 and then 30. So that is the 95 and this is 30. But here I have just, you can change it. For example, if I write 40, you will get the affected here. So you will see the change. Let me write this text well once again so that you can get the idea. Yes, the size of the text is here. So next portion is if I want to change the size of the button, so that also will be changed. For example, if I write 60, so for example the distance will be more inches. Okay, you can see that. So here the size. Okay, so whatever the value we are going to change, that change will be affected to your updated program. So here what is the use of this action listener? Let's see when we click this, because I have just used action listener. So when I will click this, that part of the code will be executed. Here the part of the code is public void action perform. That part where set text. So that means within the text field, that part will be displayed. So let me execute this one. Okay, welcome to GMIT. So let me change this one. If I want to say support object oriented programming, okay, whatever you are going to write, so that part will be changed also, because I have to execute once more time. Let me execute this one. Yes, it's showing, and yes, that good. So in this lecture I have just discussed how to use the J button, how to use the JTextField, and this is very important for your exam also. Most of the time we will get a question like that: write a common class, common constructor of JTextField, JText button, and what are the common methods are used in case of component class. What is the meaning of set size? What is the meaning of set layout, set visible? Those few things we have to know. What is the function of add action listener? That is the very common question you will get in your exam. And the way in case of broad question you will get, write an example with using swing. So button example, give an example of J button, give an example of JTextField, and maybe some restriction has to be given you that by this string, by that string will be displaying my button like this. So it is very simple. You just pass those string as a JFrame name, and if I want to pass up, for example, if I want to write OK here, so you have to change a little bit. Change is required according to your question, and that is very important. And in this example you can understand what is the difference type of constructor we are going to use. In case of J button, we have seen that there are 3 buttons we are going to use. We use no argument constructor, we use with string argument constructor, we can use even icon also, pass on as an argument. In case of TextField, we have seen that we have can pass the 4 constructor, which is very familiar. We have seen in this example, we have seen in the previous example, if you have seen that we have a JTextField with string associated with that, and here I have also used without string, that means no argument textfield constructor is called. This two constructor is frequently used. Even we can use the string length as an argument, and with number of column we can specify. So next example is very important. Here I have just used the action listener. So here this action listener is how it is performed or execute. You can see from this coding example, and hope you understand all those basic things regarding the string, and you will practice all those examples. I think that will be clear to you, and whatever I have discussed, this is very important part for your exam also, because most of the time you will get that kind of question, even short question also, and sometimes you will get some question regarding the string basic things I have also discussed. So hope you got the idea how to write or implement a string program. In next lecture I will discuss about the object oriented design, where I will discuss about how to draw a inheritance by using class diagram. I will discuss the encapsulation drawing, and what are the how to write aggregation, association. So I will discuss in my object oriented design in my next lecture. Thank you everyone.